that film comes from an e-zine. It's probably rather nice to listen to that. It comes from an e-zine called Permaculture Punk, and the person that runs it gathers together stuff that I suppose would be considered anarchic, stuff that's in a sense deviant, and they in a sense push what I think is one of the most interesting ideas that's around at the moment and has been around for a long time, as Jack described yesterday. How do we build the tools for self-reliance? How do we understand that we can do things in different ways and we can rely on each other to do that? And the key to it, I think, is building communities. I think where we go next is not to just look towards a future which is just dystopic. It isn't going to help us. We have to think about the practical things that we can do in our own daily lives and then begin to build upon that and reinvent the whole idea of a civilized world that is ecologically driven. It's as simple as that. It's not a difficult thing to get your head around. And so what we've been doing in the town that I live in over the last few years is experimenting with that idea. And we've been trying to look at ways in which we can get our community focused on things which, in a sense, build resilience, build the relationship between people in a community. So we have this project that we've put together called Incredible Edible. It's driven by the thinking, if you like, in the background of exactly what I said at the beginning, that we are in this rather difficult place. But it's not driven by sitting there and going, oh, this is terrible, terrible, terrible. How do I deal with climate change? And think, well, I can't do anything, so I'll just carry on. It's actually saying, let's not think about those things particularly. Let's think about the local ways in which we can come together and reinvent our community so it has some of the values and qualities of life and the life-enhancing qualities, if you like, that give people a sense of pride and position and enjoyment about being together, living in a sense in a community of being together and communing. And so we set this project up 4 years ago, 4 of us in the town I live in, and it's now got hundreds and hundreds of people involved in our community. And what we do is we started, first of all, by stealing land. We went round and we found every little bit of public land that was available in the town, and we grew food on it. We planted seeds on it. We put the seeds in, they grew into vegetables to start with, and I'll show you some pictures in a minute. And people looked at them and they said, what on earth is this? This is our street, and you've put carrots and onions and beans and peas. And we said, yeah, take them. You can take them home. You don't have to pay for them, just take them. And people started writing letters to the newspaper and saying, this is dreadful. How dare they do this? This is going to ruin our economy. Well, it hasn't. 4 years later, people are going around our town, and some of them use it. The old people quite often pick the vegetables because it supplements their money. But it's completely changing the way people think about the physical environment of the town. And that's our first little step. And I'm going to tell you some of that story now and give you some of the insights, because I think what it begins to give us is, in a sense, what I said at the beginning, a consciousness that we are part of a planet and that there's lots and lots of this stuff going on. And once you find one of these, you'll suddenly discover that there's hundreds, and we've already got hundreds of incredible edible projects repeating this pattern, but there's hundreds and hundreds of communities around the world doing this already. It's what they've always done. They're indigenous communities. It's also interesting that cities like Detroit are also discovering this, and communities in the city centre of Detroit are saying, this is a way forward. We can feed ourselves. We can actually begin to look at the use of our land in more productive ways, more nourished, more nurtured. So there's a whole step change, in a sense, in awareness raising that just comes from the simple act of planting a seed, starting to get us into thinking slightly differently. I'd encourage you to look at this website. I'm not going to remotely spend any time on it today because there's just so much stuff on it. There's about 300 or 400 photographs that document the entire story. And a bit later on, I'll show you 1 or 2 of them. But I wanted to start this part of the talk just with a little film from... now, that's an interesting point. Where have I put it? There it is. from last week, because I think it captures to a certain extent the fun that we're having in this project. This is Charlie, one of our royal people. Actually, he's a nice guy. I went on his train, had a biscuit and a cup of tea. So I like him, yeah. This is when he came to our town. I'm hoping this video works because it's from a Yorkshire, it's from the newspaper locally. And my abilities to use PCs is obviously really high tech, you know.
His Royal Highness brought the sun with him to Tollefsen and arrived to a sea of smiling faces. Local school children, well...
Hang on, hang on. Can you all hear that? Yeah. Let's go down a bit. No, I wouldn't leave. I'd leave that because it's for the thingy. We should be okay now. That band is our local band. I'll talk about that in a minute. There we go.
His Royal Highness brought the sun with him to Tollefsen and arrived to a sea of smiling faces. Local school children welcomed him to the West Yorkshire town. On a week-long National Environmental Awareness Tour, was keen to see the work of the incredible Edible Group. They're striving to make the community more eco-friendly while promoting fresh local produce. Members are looking forward to meeting him.
We're hoping that he'll be really inspired by what he sees and that he'll really understand the impact that can be made when the communities, businesses and schools really pull together. Well, we'd like to recognise that the community is really pulled together, understanding the issues around growing food locally, sourcing food locally, that local businesses are beginning to have a platform all around local food, and that we really have an understanding and a model of a sustainable way of living that we hope that he'll be very interested in.
He's very interested in environmental issues and we're really happy that he's come here to see what we're doing. And as we were saying before, we hope that this is going to be taken to other towns. If we can do this here in Tollefsen with a bunch of volunteers who started off and made this project happen, it could be replicated anywhere across the country. And when we put a bag together...
I think I'll abandon that because it's rather dreadful to say.
Including Pauline's eggs.
You get the impression anyway. The point is, you know, you can... Oh,
we hope to enjoy them very much.
The point is, I think, demonstrated not so much in what people are saying, but in their actions, in the town, the relationship people were, or the fun that people were expressing in a sense, and just a visit. And the question is, why is that guy coming here? Why is he coming to our town? He went to Manchester, Liverpool, Todmorden, Edinburgh and London. So Todmorden is a town of 12,000 people. All those other places are cities, millions of people. And the reason he came is because I think what people are starting to recognise beyond the boundaries of our community is that something different's happening, something slightly interesting's happening in the ways in which this community is doing things. And that's really the story that I want to now tell you about, because I think it has a broader connection to this idea of eco-literacy, and I think it demonstrates the ways in which education can play a key role in transforming our thinking.